Welcome back. Long time no see. Good to see you again, Flash fan. Hope your bacon was good. Milkshake. What up, After 5, Gabby? How you doing? After 5 Gabby is one of the best Gabbies in the world. I don't care what anybody else says. I will fight to the end for that one. All right. Let's you ate salad instead. Boring. I would have rather had the milkshake. So many jokes right there that I'm not going to make because of earlier. Anyway, we are going back to the afternoon session of this riveting, wonderful, fascinating day 7,650 of the Lori Vallow trial. We are in the middle of the state. You're welcome, Gabby. Middle of the state, talking to, I'm going to assume he's a detective, Duncan. They're going over a bunch of text messages between Alex and Lori just to prove that they were communicating after Charles had been unalived and then communicating about Ned, you know. I'm sorry. If Demon Ned walks into your room, just pull a Gabby. Tell him to get the F out. Just be like, really? Ned. Bye. Detective Tartar Sauce. Hey, Adair. How are you? It's good to see you this evening. I would ask if you had dinner, but maybe not. Might be too early for you. I had dinner. All right, so we are back. There was a rumor that the state might rest today, but I'm giving up hope. So, yes, that's what you say if Ned comes in and is like trying to possess you. Get the F out of here, you bastard. I can't say I have no Boston accent in me. And so there, whatever. I know. You drink dinner? Huh. I don't think you mean it that way. Yeah, I know, Flash fan. My hope is gone of that happening. We got Judge Zach on the stand. He's ready on the bench. He's ready to roll. Lori has walked in with her Gabby. It's so random. Her big binder, big accordion folder of files and stuff. So, all right, here we go.
Present. Bring in the jury. Oh, I did put drafts of proposed jury instructions for you guys to review tonight.
At least we're talking about jury instructions.
Change depending on
Yay.
What happens with the defense case, but that's at least something for you to get started with. Let's bring in the jury. You can wait until they actually start coming.
Judge didn't even have his robe buttoned up. See that? Glad he had something on underneath it. 18 years later.
All right, the jury is present. Please be seated. You can continue with this witness.
Can I have the Elmo, please? Thank you.
That takes a minute to restart when it's shut down. So.
Adair Moved my mouse and it muted me. A dare you should actually have one, however often they tell you to. Holy crap.
Should be kicking on. I know when it times itself out, it shuts down.
You know, like when FlashFan times somebody out. They don't ever come back. Just keep running and
I'm gonna
running.
email the
Oh,
AV
heavens.
guys just in case it doesn't pop on here in a second.
They were working on something.
They were working on something?
Yes, I don't know what it was, but they,
Okay. Rather than keeping everyone waiting, why don't we go and have the jury go to the jury room? We'll see if we can get this up and running here in a few minutes.
That was exciting. Yep, Gabby, you should get that done. I can. Yes, that is called a mammogram. Funny.
and Alex Cox
Oh,
that were
jeez. My sister-in-law, that's what she works at the place that does those. So that's who does mine. It was very awkward at first, but now it's like, whatever. You see a ton of these things every day. She does MRIs, X-rays. She does it all.
Ask the courtroom assistant to, can you delete the laptop portion of that? All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. All right, so just to put us back into perspective, when we broke before lunch, we were discussing Exhibit 227, correct?
Yes,
And this was some of the SMS or text messages between Lori Vallow and Alex Cox that were collected from her Lolly Time iCloud account.
correct.
Okay. And we had discussed the text messages from July 9th referencing the intervention.
Yes,
And we had discussed the text messages from July 9th discussing Nephi.
yes,
Those messages also referred to Mel, correct?
correct.
Now, as we go to the next page of this report, for the 10th of July, do we then see text messages between Lori Vallow and Alex Cox talking about meeting up for lunch with Mel on July 10th?
I do.
And then as those messages go along, does Lori Vallow in fact invite Alex over to her house?
Yes,
And he advises, okay.
yes,
Are there any text messages between them on the 11th of July?
there are none.
Now, the next messages that we show in this, and again, these are not all of the text messages, correct?
Correct,
Is from the 13th of July, correct?
correct.
And it says, need you, Adam is freaking out. Based upon your understanding of the case and the testimony of Adam Cox, is that when he found out Charles Vallow was dead?
That is correct.
So this one is from Lori Vallow to Alex saying, need you, Adam is freaking out.
Yes,
Again, as we kind of go through what was relevant, and we're not saying these are all of the text messages, on August 12th, do we see a text message from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox saying at Social Security?
yes, you do.
Based upon your information and review of the case, were you familiar with August 12th being the date that Lori Vallow went to Social Security to apply for survivor benefits?
Yes,
Told us that when you were looking through these messages, we had originally looked at some of the messages from the Lori for Style account. And you had looked for messages involving Ned, correct? When we heard testimony from Serena Sharp, do you recall her using the word zombie?
I do.
And that she indicated that that was a term that Lori used.
Correct.
And it referred to something to do with the possession.
Yes,
As you were looking through these messages, did you ever see Lori referring to people as Z's
I
or
did.
Z,
Just the single letter Z.
single letter Z? And so when we look at these messages, Exhibit 227, do we see starting on September 3rd, a message from Lori Vallow to her brother, Alex Cox, saying bad news on our brother.
Yes.
And Alex responds, what's that?
Correct.
And she says, Z.
Yes.
And does Alex then say, really, when was that?
Yes.
As that conversation continued on that September 3rd, does Lori tell Alex as of early January?
Yes.
Now, is it your understanding, based upon both testimony from people like Kay Woodcock as well as your own investigation, and testimony from Christina Atwood, that sort of in February and March is when Lori Vallow disappeared?
Yes.
So she's now saying her brother has been a Z as early as January. Does then Alex Cox respond back to her? That explains his interest in Charles.
So her brother, I think, as far as Z or Zach? Zach is
Her
Z.
brother
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
So initially she's talking about her brother, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so in this conversation, as we start through, Lori is telling Alex that their brother is a Z, correct?
Correct.
As early as January. And it's tied to Charles, right?
Correct.
And in fact, the next text from Lori Vallow to Adam says, Ned recruited him shortly after. This is why, right?
Yes.
She then goes on to say he's part of the 24, correct?
Yes.
And Alex says, that makes sense. Wow.
Correct.
Does Lori then go on to speak of more Zs?
She does.
Does she in fact say, again, still on this September 3rd conversation, more sad news, guess who is the final Z of the 24?
Yes.
And Alex questions if it's Pops or Brandon.
Correct.
And then Alex also says, Zach. Oops, may not be showing yet, sorry. So Lori tells, guess who the final Z of the 24 is, right?
Correct.
And we see from Alex, he guesses Pops or Brandon with a question mark.
Yes.
And then Alex also responds, Zach.
Correct.
And sort of the times here are close in time.
Correct.
We have 10:20:29 and 10:20:43. Lori responds, nope, think of Judas, who loved me completely, then turned against me.
Yes.
And then we see Alex saying, tell me.
Correct.
And Lori Vallow says to Alex, yes, our sweet Zach, he is in paradise, the real Zach. It makes final sense.
Can you push that up further just to verify? That is correct.
And does Alex then ask Lori, his sister, when this happened?
Yes.
So we're still on the same date. And does Lori then tell Alex about the time he turned? Makes sense. He being dedicated to Brandon and Ned.
Yes.
So again, we're still seeing this reference of Ned being Charles.
Correct.
And so now they're tying Adam, Zach, and Brandon with Charles.
Correct.
And so do we see again, so from Alex to Lori, so February.
Yes.
And again, is this around that time period where Lori Vallow disappeared,
Correct.
left JJ with Charles?
Yes.
And we had heard in the interview that the defendant gave with Detective Ann Clan that she told her about her just leaving and disappearing.
Yes.
As that conversation goes on, does Alex then say, how did Zach die, or was he forced out?
He does.
Previously in the Lori for Style, had we seen again a reference of Charles' body being alive, but Ned being gone?
Yeah.
And again, we've heard people testify as to Charles being possessed by that evil spirit,
Yes.
and the unknown of if that spirit went away, what that would mean for Charles.
Correct.
So this conversation then, after Alex asked Lori, how did Zach die, or was he forced out? Does Lori go on to say, it's crazy, I know, but it's sad and true. Now we know all 24, right?
Yes.
And then she also tells Alex, forced out, I think.
Correct.
And did Alex then say with his anxiety, he wasn't strong enough to fight back?
Yes.
And Lori, and he said, So throughout this time period, back from February of 2019 up through September after this, are we still seeing Lori talking about Charles being dead,
Yes.
this concept of Z or zombies,
Correct.
and others that seem to have helped Charles were equally dark?
Yes.
On the day, or the day leading up to, as well as on the 11th of July, so July 10th and 11th, did you, in looking at the reports for the Lolly Time iCloud account, see messages between Lori Vallow and her sister Summer?
I did.
In those messages, did you see Summer providing updates as to the location of Adam and Zach on the 10th?
On the 10th, yes.
And did you also see Summer providing information about a place for Lori to stay?
I did.
I can have my paralegal approach with 287. Do you recognize Exhibit 287 as some of those text messages between, from Summer, Lori's sister, to Lori on July 10th, advising about Adam and Zach?
I do.
State will move to admit 287 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
287 submitted.
Now, just so we understand again, how is Zach related to Adam?
Zach is Adam's son.
And so we heard Adam say that when he came down here, Zach was staying with his parents.
Yes.
And Zach ended up actually flying home with him.
Yes.
So on the 10th of July, we see, again, this is instant messages now. Is that another type of data that could be saved in the iCloud account?
Yes, again.
So in these instant messages, we can see who it's from as a contact of Some, right?
Correct.
And Adam had told us that Summer was sometimes called Some.
Yes.
And then again, contact the 480 with the last number is 9562. Is that Lori Vallow's?
Yes, it is.
Hello,
So
Puddle.
instant messages between Lori Vallow and Summer.
Yes.
So on July 10th at 2:04, Summer's asking if Lori can talk.
Yes.
And then about 34 minutes later, does she advise that Mom is in the car with Adam and Zach on the way home from Sky Harbor?
Correct.
And so we knew that Adam came in early afternoon on the 10th, right?
Yes.
And then Summer tells her sister, Lori Vallow, she wanted to know if she could confront him as a preemptive strike. I told her no, just to collect info.
Yes.
So we know from the 9th in that conversation or that text message by Lori Vallow to her brother Alex that she's aware there's an intervention about to happen.
Correct.
And she is rallying the troops around her.
Correct.
And her mom is asking if she can help by doing a preemptive strike.
Yes.
Then do we see an instant message also on the 10th at 2:43 from Mimi. Adam thinks Melanie left for Utah today because that's the last he knew. I just left it that way.
Yes.
Again, going back to that July 9th message, did Lori tell Alex that Mel had to stay and she couldn't go to Utah?
Yes.
As Summer continues updating Lori Vallow on July 10th at 2:48, does she tell her they're headed to Mimi's house?
Correct.
And then as we continue on at 7:10 at 3:29, does Summer provide an update again that Zach and Adam are headed to a Spider-Man movie in the time that is happening at?
Yes, they do.
Then on 7:10 at 4:56, we see again a message from Summer. I think so, just me and the kids here, right? Or
Correct.
M. Then we see a reference to JJ at 7:10 at 6:25 that he left his wrist brace and ukulele there, right?
Yes.
At 6:26 p.m. on July 10th, does Summer then offer Lori
Baker, you missed the degenerate topic of the day. It was people in my backyard. Sorry, I have a cold. I am not. I sound like a. I can't say it, but you can see it. This has been far from a good Christian channel. It's all Ned the Demon's fault. Just saying. Yes, all of them. Or Hancock or Woodcock. It's all that. All the time. It's horrible. She had a bag of them earlier today. She might have been dancing on them. Dancing with them? I'm not sure. Hey. There we I can't do it. Oh, a big bag of them. I don't even know if she was dancing. Maybe. I was too busy walking into things with Brandon and Bad Duck, and I couldn't stop. And Pedaltown. A big bag of Richards. I can't tell you the size of the Richards. I don't know. I know, we're just going over boring text messages for hours and hours and hours. Great. Why aren't you sleeping? Is it not? Maybe it's not time for you to go to sleep yet. I don't know. It has been. I mean, we're on day 7,000 of this trial. Maybe it's just 7. But it's still been 84 years. I'll try to be better tomorrow. But I make 0 promises because I don't want to set myself up for failure. So, although I was in your chat yesterday, I was like, wow, you just had too many people in there. Otherwise, I would have asked you, what happened to this good Christian channel? It was quite funny, though. Nah, we'll probably be at 45 days by the time we get through this one and Brandon Brudo, whatever his name is. This Melanie person they keep talking about, I think was his wife. She was, I think, arrested. And then she's going to go on trial for trying to unalive him too. But she never does it herself. She always sends other people to do her dirty work. Yeah, well, I doubt it. I doubt it. But maybe we'll be surprised. No spoilers, Flash fan, because I know you run and check ahead. Shame, shame. I will tell her you said that. She's still at work. Yeah, you've had a ton of people in there the last couple days. So I've just sat quietly in the corner watching, trying to learn. Flashman's like, no, I didn't. You always seem to know. You always seem to know things, Flashman. Should I call you Ned? Something about that. You're gonna say Oakley Dokley, and then I'm not gonna know what to do with you. I'll call Lori. You gave me your address last stream. No. Stop. All right, I'm going to push play because otherwise I'm going to start coughing.
That she could stay at her house.
She does.
She tells her, would you rather stay here this week while we are gone? That way no one would know you were here. We can tell Zach we are putting Zeus in a kennel.
Faster
Correct.
than I
So
am.
she's willing
so-
to lie to Zach so her sister can stay at her house and have no one know where she is.
Apparently.
Then she continues to update Lori that at 8:10 p.m. on the 10th that Zach and Adam are still here.
I mean, Baker, it would be nice if you could at least, know 5 languages. Or are you up to like 6, 7, 8 now? Because you're just... Sorry, I can't do it. Translate slow into French. I watched your video where you were speaking all the languages. I was like, holy crap, I don't even understand any of this, but I feel like I understand all of it. Wee wee. Only 4. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to oversell you. Sarcasm is the 4th. You are fluent in that. And if people don't know it, they just don't know. And they're dumb and they miss out. A baguette. I think if Baker would have had a baguette that day, he would have hit that guy. Actually, I think that guy would have been in the studio with Baker. Baker might have hit that guy. Not, like friendly things. Wee wee. Okay, that's all the French I probably know.
They're playing phase 10 and eating, right?
Yes.
And as the night goes on, Summer then advises that, again, keeping her updated where Adam and Zach are.
Correct.
Did this message say, again, that Adam was waiting for Al to text him back?
Yes.
So again, we knew Adam was thinking he was staying with Al, right?
Correct.
And then finally at 8:54, we see Adam and Zach just left to go to Mimi's.
Yes.
And so we heard from Adam that they stayed
Yeah.
with his parents.
Correct.
And then on the 11th, did we just see instant messages from Summer reaching out to Lori saying, how's it going today?
Yes.
No responses on those.
No.
Now, we've seen a lot of this mention of Melanie or Mel.
I
And when
can't
Adam
get you that
testified, he
either.
told us that his sister's daughter was Melanie Boudreau at the time, correct?
Correct.
In the lollytime@icloud.com account, was there a contact name for a Mel B or Melanie B?
Yes, there was.
And did you learn who Melanie B was in this contact list?
That was Melanie Boudreau.
So we see a mention of a Mel in that July 9th Nephi text to Alex, right?
Correct.
And we see other mentions of Mel throughout these other text messages that we've had,
Yes.
including the need for Melanie or Mel not to go to Utah, correct?
Correct.
Show defense 228.
I assume you were calling me a boomer flash fan. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
In fact,
You
I
might
have
be
my
okay.
paralegal
I don't know what you're
report
paying for.
228.
Look at you guys.
Looking at 228, are those some of the text messages from the 9th and 10th between Lori Vallow and Melanie B on the Lolly Time?
Yes, they are.
And did
I don't know. Baker's here. He can answer. I don't know what that means in Danish. Haha, vintage flash fan. You called me a bomber plane. That's what you get for being vintage. You can't even You're vintage now, so you can't even call me a boomer. Because I'm not one, for one. But now I'm a bomber plane. Yeah, thanks, Google Translate. You don't translate boomer? That's probably good. Because then Flashband would have a new word for me.
Do those, again, involve sort of Melanie staying here in Phoenix instead of going to Utah,
Yes,
as well as updating on where Charles is and where Al is?
correct.
State will move to admit 228.
Any objection?
No objection.
228 submitted.
Better watch out, Flashband.
So we had talked about earlier that there are a lot of times where we see sort of the call me thing sent. When you first look at this 228, the messages between Lori Vallow and Melanie B on July 9th at about 7:21 p.m., do we start with a message from Lori to Melanie, need to talk to you ASAP?
Yes,
Now, when you were talking about
Take your word for it.
the Alex message, let me grab that one.
Zach is here? Wow. Thought you were running and running and running. Wait, what is that, Baker? What the heck is that? Brokeback blinker? I don't even know how to say it. An aspen. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's because your computer's not Danish, Gabby. That's hilarious. Hey, Zach, did you see that record alligator gar that was caught in Lake Livingston? I think that's by Carmen. She better not go in that thing. Or I about said Kerplat. Kerplat. Yeah, it's humongous. It was caught by a guy from Kentucky. And it looks ugly. I don't think I can hold the picture up. But yeah, it is 110 pounds. And I caught it on a 2-pound test line. No thanks. I will never go in her lake. Ever, ever. Oh yeah. Thanks for teaching my chat new words, Baker. I will be what is it? I will be an ass banana from now on. Yay. Thanks.
Sorry, right here. When we look at 227, we see messages with Alex Cox that are a little bit later, where we're talking the plot thickens, call me when you can, right?
correct.
So these messages to Melanie B occur before, but it's the same sort of thing. So the plot thickens, call me when you can. We see a message from Lori to Melanie, need to talk to you ASAP, right?
Correct.
And then I'll call you in 5, finding out what to do. Correct?
Correct.
And then a response of K.
Yes.
As sort of the night goes on, we see some sort of messages of Melanie updating Lori of where she is and what's going on, right?
Correct.
And then we see from Lori telling Melanie at 8 o'clock, you can't go tomorrow. It's a setup for both of us, still on the phone, finding out the details.
Correct.
At that time, she hasn't sent the message yet to Alex, correct?
Correct.
So the Nephi message has not gone out yet.
Yes.
So then we see Lori Vallow sending to Melanie B, they have an elaborate plan, I'll call you soon,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Then as the time goes on, we see a message again, now from Melanie saying, I could take all the babies and drive and take our stuff.
Correct.
But Lori responds, you can't go at all. We both need to stay here to defend ourselves, right?
Can you move that up, please?
Sure, yes, sorry.
That is correct.
So Lori's telling her you can't go.
Yes.
And this is where then we see a message from Lori Vallow to Melanie B. It's coming to a head. This week will change everything.
Yes.
And that's where Melanie B says, probably why I felt sick about going, even when told the plan to go.
Correct.
And then again, we see another call me, right?
Correct.
Now, when we look at timing, we know again, when we go to 227, that the plot thickens to Alex is at 9:03, right?
Yes.
And so now we also have plot thickens also sent here where they're talking.
That's Alex.
Sorry, that's Alex, yes.
Right.
So as the night goes on, 9:28, this is sort of in between those messages to Alex as well as before the Nephi one.
Right.
And do we see here that Melanie says, I can lay at my house if I need somewhere to go. And then she goes on to say, I think I'll tell him I don't want to get the kids sick, so I'll go lay down at Mimi's, then gym, temple, and lunch.
Yes.
So she's going to pretend to be sick, but she's going to go to the gym, temple, and lunch.
Correct.
Then she continues to sort of advise what's going on the 10th and tell Lori, is it better for me to stay here or leave, do you think? So she's getting her direction from Lori.
Correct.
And then from Melanie, she advises Lori, Adam and Charles don't come until tomorrow, right? Or she asks her.
Get some rest, Baker. He did have his time out. He was timed out for half an hour. Never again. Yeah, well, sorry. Trey Gowdy has a weird haircut. Or don't know what he looks like now. Last time I saw him, which was a long time ago, he had a weird haircut. But yeah, get some rest, Baker. You've been working very, very hard. And it is paying off for you. I'm glad.
And then she says, Brandon said it's okay, we can get in a flight tomorrow or whenever you're better.
Yes.
So on the 10th, Melanie asked if Charles and Adam are coming in, right?
Yes.
And Lori tells them they both come tonight, correct?
Yes.
So she already knows that Adam is coming and that Charles is coming.
Yes.
Does it go on? Okay. This is from Melanie. So today doesn't really matter, but I'm here. I have the kids tomorrow and that could make it easier for them. So I should probably be sick again tomorrow, question mark?
Correct. Correct.
And again, does Lori say, I think so, but I think they're moving their plans to tomorrow since they will still try to get rid of you.
Yes.
Then there's a discussion from Melanie about wanting to go to this wedding.
Correct.
And Lori saying, I know, baby, I'm so sorry. This is important to your mission, even though I know it's hard to just sit there.
Correct.
So she's given her a mission to pretend to be sick.
She has a mission, yes.
Then we see from Melanie, I just got to the gym, but do you want to do lunch after? What's your day look like? Are you going to Glendale?
Correct.
So we can see a plan going here where she's pretending to be sick for Lori, but they're meeting up.
Yes.
Lori says, yes, let's do lunch. I'm not going today.
Correct.
Then they discuss sort of meeting up. And as we go on in the 10th, is Melanie advising her that Brandon's been here the whole time. He's been on the phone and texting the whole time. I told him I'm trying to get on a flight tomorrow, but he thought the wedding was tomorrow, so he was surprised it's Friday.
Correct.
And Lori tells her maybe she can go tomorrow night. So on the 11th, Lori Vallow already knows by the 10th, Lori Vallow was already knowing, but by the night of the 11th, Mel need not stick around.
Correct.
So she needs to be there in the morning, but maybe you can go tomorrow night on the 11th.
Correct.
And then we see again, Melanie, maybe I'll tell him I'm not going at all. And then I just end up going Thursday night, but his plans are canceled. And again, so July 11th is Thursday, right?
Yes.
There's nobody back there.
Lori then tells Melanie, I don't want you to regret not going, right?
Correct.
Melanie checks in on Lori. This is still the 10th. How are things on your end? And also, I don't want to regret not going. Meanwhile, I'm over here dreading packing and playing sick, right?
Correct.
So she confirms that she's doing this for Lori to distract Brandon.
She's not really sick, yes.
Then we see Melanie saying, packing for the move, that is, and then asked to be, will you clear me?
Correct.
So still on the 10th, as we get to 6:47, we have Lori telling Melanie, sure, I'll work on you now. Do you want to come over for a blessing?
Correct.
And this is where we then see Melanie ask, sure, I can, but is Charles coming? Is Al there? Right? And so Lori lets her know that Al is here at 7:18 p.m. on July 10th, right?
Correct.
And Charles says he will come over in the morning.
Yes.
So at 7:18, everyone sort of knows Al is over at Lori's, Charles isn't there, he'll be over the next morning.
Correct.
And then we see Melanie say, I'll head over, right?
Correct.
This next message is from the 11th, correct?
Yes.
And we see her tell Lori again, Zach is here, right?
I
Correct.
knew
And
Al.
again, now it's closer to 8. He just acted like he was coming over to get his mail. He told Brandon, oh, hey, Adam's in town. And Brandon acted like he didn't know. I asked if he was moving in with Adam Cannon, and he said he doesn't know yet. And then do they confirm after that, I can fly out at 9 p.m. tonight and be back Saturday afternoon?
Correct. And those 2 prior messages, so you can see the time frame of 7:48. Obviously, the event has taken place, and they're not read until 1:38 in the afternoon.
Okay. So yes, this is at the 7:53 a.m. when this is sent. That is after Lori Vallow has left the house with Charles's phone in his car.
Correct.
And it's read at 1:28 after Lori Vallow has been interviewed and released back in Charles Vallow's SUV.
Yes.
And they go over to Alex's house.
Correct.
So when you're trying to put this case together, you're having to pull all these different text messages to see when Lori knew what she knew and who she was directing to do things, correct?
Correct.
As you were looking through these messages, were you also having to figure out who some of these people were?
Yes, I was.
We had talked about that phone number, the 515 number that was listed as a contact of Bubby. Do you
Yes.
recall that?
Yes.
And that you, through looking at the iCloud account, the text messages, the call that was made by Chad Daybell using this phone and recorded, that Bubby contact name is Chad Daybell.
Correct.
When you were reviewing those iCloud accounts, does every text message always save in them?
They do not know.
So did you also have to look at phone records to see if those matched up or if there were missing records?
I did.
And we talked about, obviously, phone calls are not saved in the iCloud account, right?
Correct.
So when you were looking at those Chad Daybell phone records, did you look to see on the morning of July 11th of 2019 if there were any text messages or phone calls made between Chad Daybell's Bubby phone and Lori Vallow?
I did.
Do those records show a text message from Chad Daybell's phone to Lori Vallow's phone on July 11th of 2019 at 6:06 a.m.?
Yes.
And those are all in the records that we previously admitted.
Correct.
Was there another text message from Lori Vallow's cell phone to Chad Daybell's phone on July 11th at 6:12 a.m.?
Yes.
Was there a text message from Chad Daybell's phone to Lori Vallow's phone at 7:01 a.m.?
Correct.
And another text message from Chad Daybell's phone to Lori Vallow's phone at 7:33 a.m.
Yes.
So those phone records don't show us the content of those.
No, it just shows that the message they were communicating, but her iCloud will not show the actual content of those.
Okay. Looking still at that Exhibit 223, as well as Exhibit 223, which is the 515 number associated with Chad Daybell, and looking at the T-Mobile records for Lori Vallow Exhibit.
That was her nickname for Chad Daybell, which drives me crazy because I call Hank Bubby all the time. I hardly ever call him by Hank unless he's in trouble. Then he gets called Hank. Then he knows. But now she's just ruined it. I also call him Bubba. But yeah, no, it's just her name for Chad Daybell. Also, another person she indirectly is going to end the life of. Good for you, Lori.
220. Did you look at those two records to see if there was any calls or text messages between Chad Daybell's phone and Lori Vallow's phone after Charles was shot on
Yes.
July 11th?
Yes.
Was there a phone call between those two phones, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, on July 11th at 12:39 p.m.?
Yes, there was.
That lasted about 1 minute and 45 seconds. So that would have been after Lori Vallow was interviewed by the police and brought back to the residence.
Correct.
Was there no other phone call on July 11th, 2019 from Chad Daybell's phone to Lori Vallow's phone at 2:28 p.m. that lasted a little over 11 minutes?
Yes.
Is that around the time that Detective Enclan was calling Lori to have her come back to 5531 South Four Peaks?
I know he unalived, but he's on unalive row. That's what I meant. He's still there, right? He hasn't had state unaliving done yet. He hasn't had the elected chair or a Beulah injection. His name was Chad. Wasn't nice. Chad is on the end of the row. That's what I'm saying. Like, she indirectly is unaliving her fifth husband as well. I don't know what happened to 1 and 2. I suspect her of 3. Can't prove it. I think she was obviously involved in 4, and she was involved in 5. And some idiot would probably marry her in prison because that's what people do.
Yes, it was.
Did you see another call between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell at 5:42 p.m. that lasted for over 30 minutes?
I did.
And did you see another call between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow on July 11th of 2019 at 7 p.m. that lasted approximately 11 minutes?
Yes.
And did you see a final call on July 11th between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow at 7:54 p.m. that lasted a little over 13 minutes?
I did.
Was he
When
getting
you were
another
looking
new
at
family?
the text messages between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, or contact name Bubby, that you located in those Lolly Time at iCloud account, did you notice a romantic relationship between them?
Yes, I did.
Prior to Charles being shot and killed on July 11th of 2019, did you see any open and obvious romantic messages from Chad under any of his contact names that you knew of to Lori Vallow?
I did not.
After Charles's death on July 11th of 2019, did you see any open and obvious romantic messages from Chad Daybell under any of his contact names to Lori Vallow?
I did.
No
Now,
kidding, Flashback.
were
You
there
be.
many messages and between Lori Vallow and contact name Bubby or Chad Daybell?
Yes, there were.
And again, those are all part of that, recovered as part of the search warrant on the Lolly Time at iCloud account.
Yes.
In these text messages, did Chad write I'll call it romantic story about Lori and himself that he texted and emailed to her?
He did.
Did he have other names for them?
I believe the names were James and Elena.
Did that story seem to sort of at least match the timing of when they met?
They did.
Were some of them more promiscuous?
Yes.
Did they also include conversations, though, about people like Adam and Brandon,
They did.
and about Ned?
Yes.
And I probably go an approach with 229. And I made the state will move to admit Exhibit 229.
Any objection?
Just relevance to the conspiracy, Your Honor.
All right, the proper foundation's been made. I will admit 229.
229.
229 is admitted.
So we've talked about Adam and Brandon, correct?
Yes.
And so one of the first message in this Exhibit 229 is from July 13th, so 2 days after Charles was shot and killed.
Yes.
And do we see, at this point, Chad is asking Lori, how did Adam and Brandon find out?
Correct.
And again, on the 13th at 9:51, we see Lori telling Chad, my mom, because she was so mad, she went off on Adam.
Correct.
And again, when we go back to Adam's testimony, did he indicate he learned Charles had died on the 13th
Correct.
and that he got in a fight with his mom?
Yes.
At that point, do we see then a message from Chad asking, did he have much to say in his defense?
Correct.
And Lori responds, he was very defensive and tried to justify everything, but my mom kicked him out and said she would never talk to him again. She's dramatic.
Yes.
So we had learned that Adam had been speaking with Charles and that he hadn't told his family about this intervention, right?
Correct.
And that after this, he said he lost basically all contact with his family.
Yes.
And this seems to sort of confer with that.
Correct.
Do we then see a switch over from talking about Lori's family to now Chad talking to Lori about being deeply, crazily, madly in love with Lily?
Yes.
And do we see again messages to and from Lori and Chad talking about sort of their love for each other?
Correct.
So prior to this, you really had not seen this open, obvious discussions about their relationship.
I had not.
As the time continued, did you continue to see, again, messages of love, as well as a lot of calls?
I did.
Although we won't read through everything here, is this sort of part of that story you're talking about of James and Elena starting in November?
Correct.
And is November when the Preparing the People conference was here in Arizona of 2018?
Correct.
And we've heard testimony from witnesses that Chad Daybell was there.
Yes.
And you found actually a recording on the Lori for Style of Chad Daybell at the Preparing the People conference in November of 2018.
I did.
As we get to July 14th, do we see Chad then talking about cleansing the Houston house?
Clearing the Houston.
Clearing.
Yeah.
Clearing the Houston house, sorry, to remove the darkness he caused.
Correct.
So who was living in Houston?
Charles.
And had you seen and heard people testify that Charles was considered dark by Lori Vallow?
Yes.
And again, we continue to see the affirmations of love,
Yes,
the cheek to cheek and loin to loin.
yes.
There you go, Zach. They're spicy for you. Cheek to cheek, loin to loin.
Again, more conversations both of love in text messages as well as phone calls.
Correct.
As we continue on the 14th, did Chad, let me ask you this, where was Chad Daybell living in July of 2019?
In Idaho.
So Chad is living in Idaho, and you told us that you had seen flights of Lori to Idaho and Lori and Chad to Arizona in March of 2019.
Yes,
He's asking Lori, did everything go smoothly in ending the hotel stay and getting the car returned?
correct.
And so we see Lori responding to him, I guess I turned in the car, but I don't know what the police did at the hotel, probably just left it.
Correct.
And so we know that the police got the key card from her and went and cleared out the hotel room.
Yes.
Do we see, again, a continuation of that story that Chad was writing to Lori Vallow?
You do.
And that continues through most of this till apparently Chad needed a shower.
Correct.
I bet he did. Gross.
Now, as we again continue through this, are you seeing sort of every day multiple texts of love between these two?
I am, yes.
And again, going through the 17th, 16th, 17th, again, more affirmations of love, correct?
Yes.
Now, we know on the 15th of July is when Lori Vallow had called Banner Life Insurance to indicate that she was the beneficiary, right?
Correct.
And on the 18th is when she learned that she was not.
Correct.
So in Exhibit 229, do we see on July 18th at 12:18 Arizona time? So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. They can't tell me to whom, of course, but it's done. I'll still get the $4,000 a month from Social Security.
Yes.
So on July 18th, after she talks with Banner Life Insurance, Lori tells Chad she's not getting the life insurance.
Correct.
But she tells him she's getting $4,000 a month from Social Security.
Correct.
Now, we know from Lori Vallow's text to Alex that she went to Social Security on August 12th, correct?
Yes.
And we also had testimony from Social Security about that.
Correct.
But here it is on July 18th of 2018, and she already knows she's going to get money from Social Security.
Correct.
Again, do you see a lot of additional continuing everyday multiple affirmations of their relationship?
I do.
And this email or this report just went through the July 18th where we have that message about the Social Security.
Yes.
Did those affirmations continue on after
Yes,
that?
they did.
So now that Charles is dead, there's a very open texting and calling relationship between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell.
Yes.
Now, we had indicated that there were multiple contact names that were associated in the Lolly Time iCloud account to Chad Daybell.
Yes.
While you were looking at these text messages in the Lolly Time iCloud account, did you locate any for a contact name Melanie 2 with the number 2?
I did.
And in reviewing those messages, did you identify them as coming from Chad Daybell as well?
Yes, the number linked to that contact of Melanie 2 was for Chad Daybell.
Did you even see a message from Melanie 2 with an attached photo showing Chad Daybell?
Correct.
And were all those, not all of them, were there a substantial number of those messages between Melanie 2 and Lori Vallow, the same sort of romantic discussions that you saw between contact name Bubby
Yes.
and Lori?
Yes.
When you were looking at the conversation between Chad Daybell as the Bubby contact, we saw a discussion about life insurance, correct?
Correct.
Did you also see a conversation between Lori and Melanie 2, AKA Chad, about life insurance?
I did.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 288 and 230. Looking at 288 and 230, are those both one of the messages that is from Melanie 2, contact name, to Lori Vallow that was had an attached photo of Chad Daybell and another individual?
Yes.
Was that some of the information used to verify that this Melanie 2 was in fact Chad Daybell?
It was.
And then in 230, is that some of the SMS messages showing both that same romantic relationship as well as that conversation about the life insurance?
Correct.
State will move to admit 288 and 230.
Any objection?
Just the relevance, Your Honor.
288 and 230 are admitted.
So starting with 288, was this, again, a message, an MMS, so meaning there's an attached photo with it, right?
Correct.
That occurred on July 17th of 2019 from Melanie 2 contact name. And it said, I took a photo with Alan Osmond for Mark.
Correct.
And when we looked at the photo, did you ever learn what Chad Daybell looked like?
I do know what he looks like. Yes.
Is that Chad Daybell?
Yes, it is.
So this is the person that she has been texting all the romantic love affirmations with right after Charles died.
Yes.
230, again, we see the same sort of romantic contact between them.
Correct.
And so this is, again, July 18th now, going on with another contact name for Chad Daybell in Lori's phone.
Yes.
And again, we see it's the Lolly Time iCloud account, right?
Correct.
When we get to July 18th, this one, though, is an earlier. For the Bubby one, we saw that it was a noon time message, right?
Right.
And so we learned that Lori received a email indicating she was not the beneficiary, and later she had a phone conversation.
Correct.
Does this one appear to be sort of the earlier one because it references, I just got the letter from the insurance company saying that I'm not the beneficiary. It's a spear through my heart. Who do you think he changed it to? Brandon or probably Kay? He left nothing for JJ.
Correct.
Did that conversation go on? Wow, that's terrible. There's no way to find out.
It did.
And did Lori then tell Chad, I might be able to see when I get his computer on Sunday, I could check the email sent to the insurance company. It will show change of beneficiary. He must have done it recently.
Correct.
So
Yes.
we had seen, in fact, photos what appeared to be from a computer that were sent to Chad Daybell, correct?
Correct.
Showing that beneficiary change.
Yes.
So does that seem to match with, again, what Lori's telling Chad here about finding out who got that money?
It does.
Does Chad then say, it seems you would have to agree to change, maybe the name was forged, you should have a good paper trail to prove it, right?
Correct.
So he's trying to help her figure out how to get that money. So you then go on to say, I love you, this is terrible. It's probably another step in bringing down, what is this?
Gaddy Anton.
Did you ever learn what that was?
I'm sure I researched it, but off the top of my head, I don't know what it is.
Okay. Did Lori then tell him,
What the heck is a Gaddy Anton? Is that a word she made up for her Z's that the jury's taken right now? Gaddy Anton? I mean, they might have woke up by now. Yes, there's a jury. Because this is at least interesting what she's saying about the money, but they've had to have just tune this out. It's an evil soul-stealing monster. Is that true? Or are you just saying that? Then it should be named Lori. Oops. Did I say that out loud? You could have said yes, and I would have believed you. But thank you for being honest. That was not my fault. My mic is muting itself. Okay, yes. Too late. All right. The name Gaddy and Anton have different origins and meaning. Gaddy is believed to be a Scottish name that evolved from Goldie, meaning gold, in Old English. Anton, on the other hand, is a Latin name meaning highly praiseworthy. So they're highly praised gold people. Golden hand holding a bag of things. Pickles. Oh my gosh. I've never heard that word before either. Stefan bringing down the high. So she's got to be saying, I love you. This is terrible, but it is probably another step in bringing down the Gaddy Antons, especially Brandon. So is Brandon involved in bringing down the highly praised because she allegedly tried to unalive him too? Or because Brandon then can't be part of the highly saved, or highly, I was reading Flash fans thing, highly praised gold people, like a golden statue. Where'd that get people?
Nope, he can change it anytime he wants. He's the agent, and anyone can change the beneficiary anytime with their own signature. I'm thinking it must be Kay.
Correct.
So she understood, at least to
Yeah, maybe.
Chad,
I don't
that
know.
Charles had that right.
Yes.
I can't think like Lori.
Does Chad then say,
I know. I think Brandon's innocent.
it will be interesting if he
Maybe that Brandon.
if it got changed after he had 2 bullets in his chest?
Correct.
And she goes on to respond, I don't think it could have. You can't change it after the death date. They would review that.
Correct.
And then she goes on to say again, I'm thinking Kay as well. Or he says, I'm thinking Kay as well. She probably freaking out that you got those computers. I'm going to shower and give you a blessing. I'm eager to get home so we can talk. It will be okay, my love. You are wonderful.
Correct.
And then she says, miss you so much. And he responds, miss you the most.
Yes.
So during this conversation,
Welcome back, Brandon.
we see Chad and Lori discussing who this likely would have gone to and when it could have been changed, right?
Yes.
Don't
And
forget
that
the
all occurred
felony.
before the second conversation we see, also on the 18th, but closer to, I think, 12:30, 12:34, where she knows now it was changed in March.
Correct.
And in that, we see Chad referring to the 2 shots to the chest, right?
Yes.
So again, we know they've been talking about this. Did you see any other text messages talking about that?
I did not.
But we saw lots of phone calls between the 2 on the 11th.
Sure.
Now, as we have been talking through this conversation and much of this trial, we have referred to the defendant as Lori Vallow.
Correct.
And that's because she was married to Charles Vallow when he was shot on July 11th of 2019, right?
Yes.
During your review of those lolly time at iCloud accounts, did you find evidence of when she became Lori Daybell?
I did.
Allegedly.
Did you see a contract for the wedding?
I did.
Did you see wedding photos?
I did.
Where was that wedding?
Hawaii.
I can have my paralegal approach with 233. Looking at Exhibit 233 is that the report as well as the actual document that was in the lollytime@icloud.com account that you reviewed, that the police obtained through a search warrant relating to when Lori Vallow became Lori Daybell.
Correct.
State will move to admit 233.
Any objection?
Relevance.
233 is admitted.
He'd have to be able to
So the first
levitate.
part of this, we see that, again, it notes that this is an image that was from the account, from the Lollytom iCloud account from 10/31, correct? And then this is the actual photograph that was uploaded into the iCloud account, correct?
Correct.
So we see Chad Daybell and Lori Ryan. Was Lori Ryan a prior name of Lori Vallow?
Yes.
That was Tylee Ryan's dad?
Correct.
So she used the Lori Ryan name in this. They use a home address of Rexburg, Idaho at that point.
Correct.
And then the date of the actual wedding is that November 5th of 2019.
Yes, it is.
So 4 months after Charles Vallow is shot and killed inside of the defendant's home, she has remarried to the man, Chad Daybell.
Yes.
I have no other questions for this witness.
Hallelujah. Good grief. Let's hear your smartness, Lori. Relevant day. I bet he can't wait.
Detective Duncan,
didn't.
when did you become the case agent?
I believe it was June of 2020.
Pete.
Okay. And prior to you being the case agent, it was Detective Moffett?
Moffett, yes.
Is that correct? And was it because he got promoted that they made you the case agent over this case? or-
Yes.
Okay. And he's now a lieutenant, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so he was the case, was there anyone in between? Was he the case agent the whole time until 2020 when you took over?
Correct.
Okay. And when you took over the case, what things did you do differently?
I wouldn't say differently. I continued what I was doing. I was looking at records for him. The records in this case, as you're aware, are just volumes of records. So continued to look at all of the independent iCloud records, call detail records, phone extractions, and also kind of reviewing what he had done prior to my assignment is what I'd done.
Right, so kind of reviewing and seeing what you need to look at.
Correct.
So is this, from what I was understanding what you were saying earlier, is this, you weren't really involved in the case since July 11th and now you're back involved in the case?
So July 11th, obviously, I was there at the house.
Right.
Shortly after that, I had another homicide and my time was occupied with that. And it was several months later that I offered to help look at records because they were so much. And I'd always done that kind of in the background, but never really took a deep dive into them until that June 2020.
Okay, but you were kind of involved, so you kind of knew what was going on in the investigation during
Somewhat.
during that time, that year in between,
yeah.
before you became the case agent,
Correct.
but not totally deep dive, but you kind of knew what was going on.
I understood it.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. So let's go over that day again real quick. When you were there, what time were you there at the scene, from when to when?
I believe I arrived shortly after 9:15
Okay,
and I would have left probably 4:30.
okay. Were you at the house that whole time?
Yes.
So
Well,
you didn't,
Let me back
oh,
up.
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
did leave for a short period of time to obtain a saw that we would need to cut that piece of flooring out and the baseboard.
Okay,
But then it came back, yes,
so you were at the scene that whole time, besides the time you went to get the saw?
correct.
You didn't go to the Chandler Police Department?
No.
So you weren't there during our interviews?
No.
Okay. So, and you had mentioned something about you couldn't go in, I was confused. You couldn't go in until after the search warrant, but you were in before that, right?
No, so obviously your first responders, your police officers, the firefighters, they're going in to preserve life and treat the victim in this case. Then they back out. At that point, we will not let anybody in, given the circumstances of this case, until the search warrant is actually signed and executed. So we will wait outside the threshold of the house until that search warrant is signed, and then we will begin our investigation.
So I'm still confused. So you didn't go into the house until after the search warrant, or you did get to go in beforehand?
No, I didn't go in before. I waited until after the search warrant.
Okay, so you had testified, I'm still confused, sorry.
And I'm going to object again to the defendant testifying.
Just ask the question.
You had also indicated that you had gone in and that Charles was on the floor, is that correct?
I think the question was asked of me is, what did I see when I went in? And so that, and I would say after the search warrant we went in, that's what I saw.
But he was already gone in the ambulance at that point?
He never went in an ambulance.
Charles didn't go in the ambulance?
No, he went with the medical examiner's office.
So what time did he leave?
I can't give you a specific time on that. I have to look at the medical examiner's office information for that.
But it was after you entered at 11:50?
Yes, it was way after that.
Okay,
Why would he leave in an ambulance? He was deceased, dummy.
so then when you entered, what did you do at that point? Can you kind of walk me through that?
Yeah, so when I entered, obviously I made my general observations about what I saw in that room and of the body. And then talked with Detective Coons about what needed to be done next.
And what did you guys do next?
So we came up with a game plan as far as how to process the scene, which direction, who was going to do what. Like I indicated, I was tasked with collecting that firearm and was also tasked with kind of looking through the house for any kind of blood evidence that might be present. The other task that I had when we were ready, I contacted the medical examiner's office to report the death to them.
What time about was that call, do you think?
I do not know.
Sometime in between that, before 4:30, is that correct?
Correct.
And did everyone leave the scene at 4:30? Is that kind of the timing when people were clearing out, or?
Yeah, some might have stayed behind, and a lot of our ID techs like to sit in their cars and type their notes, that type of thing. But right around that 4:30, 4:45 is when the search warrant was completed.
Okay, and then there had been a walkthrough, is that correct?
Yes,
And so Alex had come back to the house just after 3-ish?
I believe that could have been the time, yes.
Okay, and then were you present during the walkthrough?
I was.
And who else was present?
Detective Moffett, Detective Werther, Detective Coons, myself, and I want to say crime scene technician Jordan might have been there as well.
Okay. And was it Jordan that was wearing a body cam? Was there a body cam made of that?
No, I believe that Detective Werther had a body cam, but it malfunctioned and didn't capture.
So there's no recording of that at all?
No.
And Detective Moffett was the case agent at that point, right? Because he'd been assigned that already?
Yes.
Okay. And so did each of you write reports on that walkthrough then, since there was no recording of it?
That would have all been included in our report, not a specific walkthrough report, but in our original narrative, yes.
Everyone would talk about it, mention it, their perspective?
Not everybody has to, as long as somebody or one or two people wrote about it to know that it happened. Yeah.
Right. So since there's no recording of it, though, someone is assigned, like, because Moffett is the case agent, or who would do that? Be assigned to include it in the report, for sure?
It's different. I'll give you the example. If you look at probably my report compared to Detective Coons' report, you might notice, similarities in there. You might notice stuff that I went into more detail on, or he went into more detail. But it depends on whether they write it or not. They could just put something as simple, I was present during a walkthrough.
Okay. So since you became the case agent, have you read all the reports?
At one time or another, yes, I have.
So is there anyone specific that kind of ran through what happened at the walkthrough?
Your Honor, I object to asked and answered and relevance. And hearsay.
Sustained as to asked and answered.
Did you write about it in your report?
I'm going to object again to relevance, hearsay, asked and answered.
Sustained as asked and answered. He already answered that.
You mentioned that it was Detective Werther who had the body cam, is that correct?
Again, asked and answered.
So
Sustained.
did you read his report?
I have read his report, yes.
Did he mention the walkthrough and what happened?
And I'm going to object again to relevance, hearsay, and asked and answered.
To the extent that it would call for a hearsay answer, I'll sustain the objection.
Detective, when you became the case agent, you were kind of aware, so you knew what had been done in the investigation, is that correct?
Yes,
And so you knew who had been interviewed, is that correct?
yes,
And you knew what had been tested or not tested at that point?
correct,
So the bat was tested for fingerprints, we learned that in the testimony, is that correct?
correct,
And the results were inconclusive,
correct,
and so there were no latent prints were identified, that's correct?
correct.
And there were prints, but we just don't know whose they were, is that accurate?
Sounds about right, yes.
Now, we learned that the bat was swabbed for DNA and sent to the lab. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was that ever tested?
No, it was not.
And why not?
When making this decision, you have to look at the probative value of that and what that would show or what a test would prove. DNA and fingerprints are not time specific. That bat was owned by Tylee, to our knowledge. It was in a household where you lived. It was in a household where Alex was. And at one point, based on the fact of when we understood the bat to have been purchased, Charles was living in the house as well. So that bat was accessible to all those people. So if at one point during that time, that person touched that bat, all that it would be saying is that somebody touched that bat at some point, not during this incident.
Right. But there was no blood found on the bat, is that correct?
Correct.
But would that be able to be told from DNA?
There was nothing that was visible that could see, like if blood dries or anything like that. There was nothing that would indicate that here's a spot we need to test for that particular, for blood.
Right, but would DNA tell if there was blood? Could they find out if there was blood on the bat from the DNA test?
Once again, blood is, you would see if it dries and crusts, then you would see that particular blood. DNA comes in many forms. It can come in touch, it can come in sweat, blood, but you would think that blood would be visible at that point to be able to test. And we did not see anything like that.
Okay, so if there was none of Alex's DNA on the blood, wouldn't that tell us something? I mean, on the bat at all, then wouldn't that tell us something?
If there were none of Alex's, it would just mean that Alex never touched that bat at any time.
And wouldn't it tell us that Alex was never hit in the head with that bat?
Once again, it's not specific. I can't, if there was blood on the bat,
Mhm.
then yes, we would test for that. But there's no visible blood on the bat.
I understand that, but when you're doing an investigation, are you not trying to figure out what happened?
Yes, and that's what we
Don't you
did.
want all the information to do that?
Yes,
And so whose responsibility would it be to request the DNA testing from the swab that was taken?
once again, that would just show, it's not showing that it's blood. There's no blood on the bat. It was just showing that a DNA swab was taken of that particular area to be able to test later on. But there's no discoloration that would show any kind of blood.
And who in the Chandler Police Department would be requesting that DNA to be tested? Who would have to do that?
That'd be me.
It would be you.
As the new case agent, that would be me, or Detective Moffat at the beginning.
And so Detective Moffat never did that, is that correct?
Correct,
And you never did that, is that correct?
correct.
Okay. So if Charles' DNA was on the bat, then wouldn't that tell us something also?
Did he touch the bat at some point?
Yeah, that he took it from Tylee, like she said in her interview.
And I'm going to object and move to
Sustained.
strike that.
The jury should disregard that last question. That information is not in evidence.
Wait, what did she say?
Detective, wouldn't that have answered some
Sorry, I gotta back it up.
questions for us?
Information is not in evidence.
Yeah, that he took it from Tylee, like she said in her interview.
And I'm going to object and move to
Sustained.
strike that.
I don't know what.
The jury should disregard that last question. That information is not in evidence.
Well, she's probably not allowed to
Detective,
speak
wouldn't
to
that have
Kylie
answered some questions for us
like that.
in your investigation?
I don't think it would have, no.
Okay. We learned that the gun in testimony, that the gun was tested just last month. Is that correct?
Correct,
And who requested that test?
I did.
And why did you request that test?
So on firearms, immediately after we have a firearm case, we have the ability to utilize a system called NIBIN. NIBIN is run through the ATF, and what NIBIN will do is we can fire a particular firearm that we have control over and obtain casings from those. We could then take the casings from the scene casings and then compare those together. We already knew that that gun fired those casings very early in the investigation, as an indictment report provided. However, ATF will not testify in court. So playing the balancing game of when a trial will begin and whether a trial will even happen, I do not like to make more work for a firearm analyst than I have to. So when we know that we are in and going to trial, then I will send that over to them because they were the ones that will testify to that.
Okay. So it wasn't after my investigator suggested that none of the guns had been tested
No,
that you
No.
ordered that test?
I never spoke to your investigator about that either.
Okay.
I
So,
can make that happen,
Detective-
Titletown, I would.
When did the Chandler Police Department take possession of the gun?
On July 11th?
And then it was tested in March, is that correct?
Correct.
And then we've established through expert testimony of Detective Coons that the floorboard was not tested either, is that correct?
Correct.
And he also established that the projectile was not tested either, is that correct?
Correct.
And Detective Coons also confirmed that no tests were done on my husband's shirt, is that correct?
Correct.
And then when you became the case agent on this case, why didn't you request any of these tests?
Because I was confident that based on the medical examiner's report of an entry wound to the lower left quadrant, an exit wound to the upper left rear shoulder, and a corresponding defect, or what I would refer to as a bullet strike on the floor, if you take those 3 points and match them up, then there's no other explanation other than Charles was laying on the ground at that time.
So the medical examiner said he could not say that he was laying on the ground for sure, but you're saying that in your detective opinion, you know that for sure?
I believe so, yes.
And so were you there to witness it with your eyes?
No.
Your detective opinion?
Detective, to your knowledge, did my brother and my daughter and myself willingly comply with everything asked of us by law enforcement on July 11th, 2019?
I can't speak to that, no.
Did we answer all the questions asked to us?
I have nothing to say you didn't.
Did we follow all directions given to us by law enforcement that day?
I'm going to object to speculation and foundation as to how this detective knows that. He's already said he wasn't at the station.
He's the case agent, Your Honor.
You can testify to what he observed for himself. So if you want to tailor your question, go ahead.
Would you say that according to every report and every detective that you've talked to and anything else, that you would say that we fully complied with law enforcement that day on July 11th, 2019?
Object to hearsay.
I'm going to sustain the objection to the form that it was asked.
So according to all the reports that have been given by everyone who was there, and you're the case agent, so you're in charge of all of these people, is that correct?
I'm not in charge of them, but I have read the reports.
So you have read the reports.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, to your knowledge, we fully cooperated with law enforcement that day on July 11th, 2018?
I'm going to again object to hearsay. And lack of personal knowledge.
Sustained.
Has it come to your knowledge that we did not comply with everything?
And I'm going to object to the exact same thing, lack of
Should I-
personal knowledge and hearsay.
He can answer that
Hairspray. It
question.
does sound like hairspray,
Yes,
doesn't
I
it?
do.
Have you come to the knowledge that we did not comply that day for any reason?
I have not.
Okay. Did I turn my husband's phone over when asked?
Yes.
Did Alex turn his phone over willingly?
I am not sure when Alex, or if Alex turned his phone on. I'm not aware of that.
Okay. So is there a body cam where his phone was placed into an evidence bag? That's correct.
I do remember seeing that, yes.
And then the evidence bag is put into the front of the police car where he was taken to the Chandler Police Department. Is that correct?
I didn't see that, but I trust the fact that it was taken at that time, yes.
And so according to that body cam, it looked like he turned it over on request.
And I'm going to object to speculation.
You don't have any knowledge that he didn't. Is that correct?
I'll allow that last question.
I don't have knowledge, no.
So do you know who had taken possession of his phone at that point?
I don't.
Do you know who drove him to the Chandler Police Department?
Well, through this hearing, Officer Krautheim.
Oh, that's right. The one I couldn't remember how to spell. I mean,
Again, Your Honor.
Sustained, please don't testify.
You know, We've watched a
Well-
lot of trials, and the lawyers, I get she's not a lawyer. Trust me, I get that. But lawyers always make comments like that, like, oh, yeah, the one I can't say or the one I can't spell or whatever. And it's like, just let it go, lady. If she gets too far out of reach, you can zap her and rein her back in. She knows that threat's there. Little bzz, bzz. Just remind her. I just want one rule on that. She has to say geez Louise when it's done. I would be unalived. And that's okay. I would be happy.
Was a copy of Alex's phone made by the Chandler Police Department?
I don't know.
You don't know?
There's so much information. I don't know whether we received just his call detail records or an actual copy was made. I don't know.
So you're the case agent.
Yeah, I'd have to look and see if that was the case.
So you're the case agent, and you don't know if the person who shot my husband's phone was ever.
At this moment, I don't recall.
Hi, Kelly.
So there's no cell bride of it. Is that correct? In the discovery?
I think the only thing that we have is his call detail records, which would be from his cellular provider.
So what would the typical protocol be for you to, if someone handed over their phone, wouldn't it be to do a digital download of it?
So that could be one of two ways. It could be under a search warrant to do that, or it can be under consent to do that. I do not believe I don't believe that his phone was extracted at that time,
So he would have to give consent? Is that what you're saying?
or a search warrant, but that would have been through Detective Moffett.
So Detective Moffett would have had to get a search warrant and then he would download it?
Based on their conversation, whether Alex would be willing to do that or whether a search warrant was needed, but that was Detective Moffett's call at that time.
And he decided not to do that?
I don't know what his process is or his thought process.
Well, I'm saying that he did not do that, and you're the case agent now, so you would know if that was done, correct?
You're asking me to speak for Detective Moffett, whether it was done or not?
No, I'm asking you to speak as the case agent now, if you know if it was done or not.
I believe it was not.
Okay. Do you think that would be important to your investigation?
Absolutely, knowing what we know now, yes.
Okay, you're a detective, right?
Correct.
You have to look at all the angles, right?
Correct.
You don't know what happened, right? You just stated that you weren't there, right?
Correct.
So wouldn't that be crucial information that the police department didn't bother to take?
Once again, I don't know what the conversation with Detective Moffett and Alex was and what his reasoning for not. Would I have taken it? Yes,
But that was not your call at the time.
correct.
And so in lieu of that, what did you do to try to obtain that information?
We got his call detail records through his company.
And so is it safe to say that it's much better to have the actual phone to do the extraction so that you can have everything that was on the phone?
Yeah, but you can also obtain a lot of that stuff through other means, through iCloud records, Google records. But yeah, it is nice to have that phone.
So would you call that an oversight by Detective Moffett?
Object to speculation.
Sustained.
So was the phone then returned to Alex that day?
Yes,
How did that happen? Was it just handed to him or?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And that would have also been Detective Moffitt's call?
Correct.
And we haven't heard from Detective Moffett, is that correct?
Correct.
So according to your knowledge, that when Alex was called by Chandler Police to return to the scene for the walkthrough by detectives, he did so, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
You saw him there?
Yes.
And did he answer everyone's questions while you were there, that you observed?
Yes, he did. There was very little questioning. It was just more of a positional type thing. It was, where were you?
It was more, I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
Where was he? Where was he standing during the time?
Oh, and so he kind of walked it through with you and all four of you were there, right?
Yes.
5. And no one was asking him any questions?
Your Honor, I'm going to, again, we've already gone through this before, asked and answered, as well as verging on hearsay.
I'm going to sustain the objection. How much do you have left on your cross, do you think?
I don't know, Your Honor, a lot.
In other words, more than a couple minutes. Should we take our afternoon break?
Oh, yes, we should
All right.
take a break.
Let's take our afternoon break for staff. It'll be about 15 minutes. Please remember the admonition.
I was going to say, how much longer do you have? How many times are you going to repeat the same thing over and over? Can you move on? Can you just turn your questions into me beforehand? Maybe that's what he'll say when after the jury leaves. Like, seriously, lady. Stop asking the same question over and over and over again. You know what would be more entertaining than these two in court would be these two in, like, Mortal Kombat. You know, want them to, like, hurt each other for reals, but UFC maybe. She'd complain that it wasn't fair or something dumb. Also, if I ever see any of your church people in here, I'll be like, you're more than welcome, but Flashman said you can't stay.
That's
Oh,
a
no.
statement, not a question.
Hey,
Do you have knowledge that my text message meant that at all?
stop. Ned. Get on my computer, Ned. Kelly. Oh my gosh. I would pay to see it. KO. Finish him. Fatality. Oh, they don't have to know that, Flashman. I'll just be like, Flashman said you can't be here. I won't tell them why. They ask, I'll be like, I don't know. Yeah, see? Middle house. We're all good. You don't know what we do in our spare time.
I'm going to advise the defendant that
I agree.
anything that this witness read in another officer's report, he can't testify to whether those things are true or not unless it fits into some exception to hearsay or non-hearsay for you to establish that. So please don't ask any questions that he can't verify. He can testify to things that he observed, saw, or heard. But again, if you're referencing another report that another officer wrote, he won't be able to testify whether the contents of those reports are true or not unless he has some sort of personal knowledge.
I understand.
All right, you can come back up, get ready to resume your cross. We'll bring the jury in.
Dang it, I was muted. Flashman thinks we are heathens. I've been talking this whole time, but my computer keeps muting itself. Flashman's at the door. He's at the door of my YouTube studio going, no admission, no admission. All right, Petaltown, you can go in. Gabby, you're good. No.
All right, thank you. The jury is now present. You may be seated. You can continue with your cross-examination of this witness.
It skips again. I can't do anything. I'm not going to fight it.
Detective Duncan, in all those text messages, we saw a lot of people. Did you interview our mother, Janice Cox?
I did not.
Did you read or watch her interview?
I have not.
Did you interview our sister, Summer Shiflett?
I did not.
Did you read or watch her interview?
No.
Did you interview our father, Barry Cox?
No.
Did you read or watch his interview?
No.
So the only source that you have for this investigation of the shooter in your case is through our brother Adam? that correct?
And all of the contacts mentioned through your iClouds.
Yeah, but you didn't ask anybody who was mentioned in there.
Well, Flash fan, that's on them because you come in here, you're very polite, you don't do anything, you don't cause any problems, you don't say mean things to anybody. You're very nice, you're very friendly. So they shouldn't judge you. There's things that say to not judge people or you'll be judged. So, just be nice.
Or who was speaking in there, what they meant by any of those text messages?
Well, none of the people that you mentioned
Mhm.
were present during this incident. So you're asking about the actual day of July 11th, if I asked them about that day or about the text messages?
About the text messages themselves. Like, did you ask my mother what she meant in that text message when she wrote it?
No.
Did you ask my sister what she meant in those text messages?
No.
Did you ask Melanie, my niece, what she meant in those text messages?
No.
Did you ask me what I meant in those text messages?
I couldn't.
Okay. And through your investigation, you found out that, as you testified earlier, that Alex wouldn't text or call Adam back. Is that correct?
I'm not interpreting as far as he wouldn't do it. What I'm saying is I don't see it. So if there's a message there and there's a text, there's no indication that there was a call back or a text back.
So it looked like that he wasn't calling him or texting him back, even though he was getting calls and texts. Is that correct?
And then Adam also testified that he did not receive a call or a text back,
So
which would be consistent with the records.
So the only person in our family, in our whole family, that you got information from was the estranged brother from our family who didn't know what was going on with everybody else.
You object to the form of the question, argumentative.
Well, it's also compound. I'll sustain the objection.
Okay, so Adam, our estranged brother, is the only one that you got information from. Is that correct?
I object to the form of the question.
Sustained.
So is this your normal protocol to just talk to one witness and not all the others?
No.
Why didn't you speak to any other member of my family?
A lot of members of the family have been spoken to.
But you were not privy to any of that information as the case agent?
Well, I was privy to the interviews that were conducted by other detectives.
And you just testified to me that you didn't read or watch any of those interviews. Is that correct?
I have been present during an interview or a phone call with Summer, and been present during a phone call in this process, but I have never interviewed them.
How many interviews has Summer had with the police departments?
Objection, speculation.
If you know.
He can answer if he knows.
I don't know.
More than one or two?
I don't know.
Okay, but you knew of at least one,
That Summer has had?
correct?
Yes.
But you didn't ask her any of these questions or any of the questions about the text messages that you just talked about that were on the screen with Summer?
I said no.
Okay. So as the case agent and a detective, do you form a suspicion and then stick to it and only investigate the things that lead you to that same conclusion?
No.
You had testified earlier about the story of Nephi, is that correct?
Yes.
And you said that you researched it, is
I
that
did.
correct? What research did you do?
Well, the very basic research, I Googled who is Nephi, what does Nephi stand for? I've also, through this process over the last 4 or 5 years, have asked other members of the church just a simple question, tell me about Nephi. And every single person I talk to tells me that same story that was told by Adam.
So are you aware that there's 15 books in the Book of Mormon?
I'm not.
Are you aware that 4 of those books are books of Nephi?
I'm not.
That there's Nephi 1, 1st Nephi, 2nd Nephi, 3rd Nephi, 4th Nephi?
No, I'm not.
Okay. That there's many stories of Nephi. Is that correct? Or you don't know?
I don't know.
So the very first story is the story that,
I'm going to object to testifying.
It sounds like that's the way it was going. So please just ask questions.
so you did not read the Book of Mormon?
No.
You did not read 1st Nephi?
No.
You just asked people. That was your research?
I asked members of that particular church, and I also did an internet search, yes.
So you did an internet search and it gave you all the stories of Nephi?
That's the story that came up.
So how long did you do that research for?
I couldn't tell you.
So in your research, did you discover that there's about 25 stories of Nephi in that Book of Mormon?
I didn't see that, no.
And that there's 4 different prophets that are called Nephi in the Book of Mormon?
I'm going to again object as to testifying, and the detective has already indicated, or asked and
I'll-
answered.
I'll overrule the objection. He can ask if he knows that or not.
What was the question? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't remember. Can the court reporter? tell
There's
me?
4 different people referred to as Nephi.
Yeah, 4 different prophets in the Book of Mormon that are Nephi. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. So isn't it true that you really have no idea what I was referring to when I referenced Nephi in my text message?
I can only go off of what I see. I can't tell you what you're thinking or what you're trying to relay there, but based on my knowledge and based on talking to people about who is Nephi, that is a story that came up consistently.
You relayed to the jury that it was in order to kill. You relayed to the jury.
I said that the story was the same story and similar to Adam. Adam told.
Okay, and you said it earlier that that was an order to kill, that I referenced Nephi. I will be like Nephi and you will be like Nephi. To the jury here today.
Ask a question. That's a statement, not a question.
Do you have knowledge that that my text message meant that at all?
No.
Are you aware through all of your investigation of this case that my brother was a stand-up comedian, Alex?
I had heard that, yes.
And that everything is a joke to Alex?
I can't speak for that.
So when you're interpreting all these text messages and making all these assumptions, half of them could be jokes and you would not know that?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Were you speculating when you read my text messages?
I think I'm just reading your text messages. I don't think I was drawing any inference from them. I was just simply reading them.
Well, today you were explaining them to the jury. Is that true?
Those were read. There was no explanation as to what it meant.
As the case agent, what is your communication with the other investigators in this case?
What do you mean by other investigators?
So who is on your team? Who is working for you on this case right now?
I'm the only person working on the case right now. Back in the, when we were investigating it, it would have been myself and Detective Coons. And then periodically we'd have Detective Werther do some work for us if we needed it.
And then do you guys communicate through emails or calls or text messages, or how does that work?
Well, unfortunately, we're cramped in a small little area, so we have the ability to just talk to each other.
So no reports are really made of that communication, you're just talking?
Correct.
And being a detective, is your job basically to be an investigator and search out facts concerning what happened?
Yes,
Do you feel like you've done that in this case?
I do.
So by not testing any of those things, you feel like you've done everything you could possibly do to tell the jury and to tell us what happened that day on July 11th, even though you weren't present?
Correct.
You're confident in that?
I'm confident.
Did you have to meet with Detective Moffett to review the case when you made this transfer?
No.
So he didn't give you any heads up on what was happening?
Well, before he left, he just dropped the case notebook on my desk and then went on his way. We have
So-
had conversations before then and since, but nothing in detail.
So you didn't say what's been tested or what hasn't been tested
No, that's for me to go back through and look at.
through reports?
Correct.
Okay, so did you think it was important to maybe luminol the bat?
Once again, there was no visual blood present on the bat, and we decided that we were not going to do that particular process.
So can't blood be invisible and still be on the bat if you luminol it?
I guess if it's cleaned off, it would still maybe show some proteins, but that was something we decided not to do. We fingerprinted it to
Only
show,
to share, Gabby.
because there was indication that Charles had grabbed it from Tylee. So we did our best evidence to try to grab that location where it would have been grabbed, but that's what we did.
Wouldn't that be important to your investigation?
Objection as to wouldn't what?
Yeah, please.
Wouldn't luminoling the bat be important to this investigation, this particular investigation?
I don't believe it would.
What about luminoling the gun? Was that done?
Once again, there's no visible, and we were under the impression that it happened 5 minutes before we got there, and there's no visible presence of blood on the bat.
Well, you went around the whole entire house looking for blood, is that correct?
Yes,
And you had the gun in your possession,
yes,
and you're in a police station,
I was at your house.
I'm saying you
Just
have
double check
access
it.
as the case agent to have any of these things tested. Is that not right?
Yes,
So why didn't you test them?
because I did not think that luminol was needed to be tested because there was no visual blood.
So wouldn't you like to know that for sure?
I guess we make choices and we make decisions through this process based on the facts that we have and the facts that are presented to us. And based on the facts presented to us and what we saw and what we had, I did not feel that was necessary.
You have charged me with a crime. Is that correct?
I have not, no.
You have helped them charge me with a crime. Is that correct? The state of Arizona?
I conducted an investigation and I sent it forward, yes.
Is she going to ask to see if the state of Arizona is in the courtroom? Ugh. You know, you said that, Flashman, and it makes me mad that they did that to the horses. So I hope people get what they deserve. And don't have any horses.
And you did not feel it was necessary to test any of these things?
Objection,
As
Your
the case
Honor, asked
agent.
and answered like 4 times.
Sustained.
What logical reason do you have as an investigator to not investigate all of these things that were available to you for the past 5 years?
Your Honor, I'm again going to object to asked and answered. If there's a specific thing that
That's
hasn't been asked,
That's a really very broad question. I'll sustain the objection. Yeah.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Redirect.
And now 10 hours of redirect.
I'm going to start by just talking to you a little bit about luminol. Is luminol a process used where you believe a scene has been cleaned up, like somebody actually attempted to remove blood from the scene, and so it's been diluted?
Correct, and it would show the remaining proteins left, yes.
And so luminol is used when there is no visible blood because the scene's cleaned.
Correct,
And so in this case, you were under the impression that this homicide had occurred 5 minutes before police arrived?
yes,
So you would not be expecting a cleaned up scene.
correct.
But you did look to see if you saw visible blood.
We did, yes,
And by visible blood, you're talking about drops of blood that might be there,
correct,
swipes of blood that might be there,
correct,
hairs from someone's head that might be stuck in the bat.
yes.
And did you see any of that?
No, we did not.
Now, after this, did you learn that there was actually this 47-minute process?
We did,
So when you're processing the scene that day, you were not aware yet of how extensive this timeline was incorrect.
correct,
In fact, we heard from Detective Werther that it was sort of the next day as he started going through the phone from Charles,
yes,
and the day after that as he's going to get videos from Burger King and Walgreens, that you're learning that this timeline is very wrong.
correct.
What?
I want to talk about the data that you have reviewed in this case. When you talk about what was reviewed, whether by you, well, let's just say by you. In these iCloud accounts, are you talking terabytes of data?
Yes, each iCloud account can have terabytes of data, and you have to, and it's tedious because you can only look at one at a time. We can only look at one particular iCloud at a time and go through that, make notes. Then you'd have to shut down, open up another, and look through one iCloud at a time, and then try to, with your notes, to match these together. So it was a very labor-intensive process.
And as you're looking through this, are you then learning more things that then makes you have to go back to the other iCloud account to try to see what you could find in that?
Absolutely.
So when we come in here with just a few documents and a few things, would it be fair to say that's just a grain of what you've gone through?
Absolutely.
So on July 11th of 2019, when you arrive at this scene, you think this homicide just occurred, did you understand at that time the relevance of cell phone or iCloud data?
No, what's something that happened, what sounded like it was a rather quick incident. It just happened 5 minutes ago. I wouldn't think of the necessity for cell phone data, like to show planning or anything like that, or show conversations over the weeks and months. Sometimes we get cases where, oh, this person's had beef with me forever. Obviously, I am going to want to take that phone and go look through that. But in this case, we just had something reported to us that happened just 5 minutes and very limited information, as it was almost an impromptu attack. We had no information at the time that this is something that had weeks, if not months, of planning.
On July 11th of 2019, did you start to see inconsistencies between the statements that were being given, the timeline, and the physical evidence at the scene? Did you start to see some inconsistencies?
Yes.
For instance, you were provided with a self-defense theory. Did you see inconsistencies between that statement and what you're seeing at the scene?
Yes.
And that's where we're talking about the location of the bullet wounds to Charles, the bullet strike under his left shoulder, and the bullet being by his left shoulder for one of those shots.
Correct.
But again, you're still not aware of the background of these individuals.
Correct.
As you began learning more information about the interaction between Charles and Lori Vallow and learned about the individuals, were you then able to obtain information to allow you to write search warrants to even obtain phone records and iCloud accounts?
Yes.
So that's not just something you can be like, hey, I just want that, so I'm just going to ask iCloud for it, and I'll just hand that right over?
Correct. You have to have probable cause in order to get that.
You were asked about DNA and blood. And I think you had said something about it. Is DNA only found in blood?
No.
So saliva can have it,
Correct.
sweat.
Correct.
So when you're asked about blood on the bat, that isn't the only form of DNA that would be left on there potentially.
Correct.
So if you had information that the bat belonged to Tylee, no matter what, you would expect to find her DNA on it.
I would.
Not, regardless of whether she ever bled on it, right?
Correct.
Was blood something different you were looking for, though?
It was.
And was that due to the fact that there's this allegation that Alex Cox was hit in the head with a bat?
Yes.
And so we have the bat here. You looked at it yourself, did not see visible blood,
Did not.
and we have someone else who processed it and didn't see visible blood on it.
Correct.
Even on the edge top of it, do you see any sort of damage to that plastic around the tip of it?
I do not.
If you had processed that bat for DNA and you found Tylee's DNA on that, would you have told you that she put it on there on July 11th? Did they ticky mark that for you?
It would not.
Would just say it was on there, right?
Correct.
Are you able to time that in any way?
No.
When the medical examiner comes out, the medical examiner's office comes out to the scene to collect the body. Body doesn't leave in an ambulance, right?
No, it does not.
They have a van.
Yes.
And does the doctor who's performing the autopsy come out there with you guys and
No,
check out the scene?
He does not.
So when a medical examiner testifies as to a wound being shored, but not knowing what it was against, he's not out at the scene looking at the body, right?
Correct.
He's not out at the scene looking at the projectile defect or on the ground underneath Charles's left shoulder.
Correct.
He's just saying that wound is shored. Whatever he was against is what it was.
Correct.
But you were at the scene
I was.
and you saw the shoulder in line with that defect on that ground or on that floor that you collected.
Correct.
This could
Now,
possibly be her
Did
last
you ever have
witness.
any information that
Been on the stand
Janice
all
Cox or
day.
Barry Cox or Summer Shiflett were present at 5531 South Four Peaks on July 11th?
We did not.
In fact, it appeared that Summer was actually going out of
my
town, so she
gosh.
wasn't going to be around on the 11th.
Correct.
Now, you had mentioned that you
I hope so, Kelly.
were present when Summer and Janice were interviewed. Was that when the state interviewed them when they were listed as witnesses potentially for the defendant?
That is correct.
And in fact, did you recall Summer being asked about her offering her house to the defendant to stay at?
I do.
What we had seen in the text message.
Correct.
Was there anything about that statement that appeared to be untrue based upon your hearing or participating in that?
There's nothing.
I think that happens where I live still. I don't know, though.
In these text messages and iCloud account records,
I don't have any bodies.
start with Ned. When you first started seeing those, were you understanding the full story of where that came about?
No.
Did you then have to look to other people who, like Serena Sharp or Christina Atwood or others who were aware of who Ned was,
Correct.
or what Ned was?
Yes.
It's wrapping up right now, Flashman.
In
I
terms
feel
of
it.
Nephi, you said that we heard from Adam when he's asked about Nephi, what that meant to him.
Correct.
He provided us with a story of Nephi and Laban, right?
Correct.
You said you Googled this like many of us do, right? Start out there.
Right.
And then you actually spoke to other members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
I did.
Was that to make sure that you weren't missing something?
It was to make sure that there wasn't another story that might be out there that he's known for. And so, like I said, I would just randomly ask people that. And every single time I would ask that, that was the story that was told to me.
So others who were members of that church spoke the same way that Adam did.
Yes.
Yes, keep scrolling,
You're
lady.
asked a lot
Get to the
about,
end.
Sort of processing of the scene and processing of the items of evidence. Was this case, let me ask you this, was the physical scene itself inconsistent with what was initially told?
Yes.
And did it require additional research into all of these different iClouds, cell phones, cell tower records to clarify what happened?
Yes. As the weeks and months went on, additional information was learned that basically required those accounts to better understand what took place.
And was that what then you spent months going through?
Right.
And ultimately, after all of that, is when you eventually presented that case or turned it in to be reviewed.
Yes, I did.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
All right, are there any questions for this witness from any member of the jury? I see at least one.
Dang it. Well, maybe she'll rest after the jury questions. This guy has been on the stand all day. He's got to be the last one. Also, Gabby, I noticed for the court reporter, they must have heard you yesterday that because they moved the eye patch microphone. It's not there anymore. Or 2 days ago, when yesterday. I'm hoping against you, Flashman. Hoping against you. Also, I wish my StreamYard would just stop muting itself. It's driving me nuts today. Pirates. Pirates are great. I mean, if they're like Johnny Depp pirates, not like mean, unaliving pirates. Come on, Judge.
Well, I think we're going to need that exhibit. Go ahead. We'll see if he knows, though. Regarding the pictures on Alex's phone sent to Lori, what was the time on the top left corner of the pictures? Do you recall?
I don't know for certain. That was
How
afternoon.
about pirates?
Would it refresh your memory to look at that
Yes.
photo?
Yes.
What exhibit number is that from?
This is 222.
All right, so that's been admitted into evidence.
Time is 2:13.
And the next question is the countertop in that picture, do you recognize that as whether or not that's the same countertop at the Santan, the Four Peaks address?
That is not the same as the Four Peaks address, no.
Okay.
That's
Before I go for follow-up to the parties, are there any other juror questions? I don't see any. follow-up from the defense based on that juror question?
No more questions, Your Honor.
All right, from the state?
Just that in that exhibit,
Of course.
the photo, sorry, of the phone, do we see both sort of Tuesday, 9:08, when these messages occurred, pull in, as well as sort of what time the phone is showing?
Yeah, and I think the most telling thing is this is a communication between Adam and Charles. Clearly, the only phone that they had would have been Charles' phone, not Adam's.
And this conversation matches what you saw extracted from Charles's
I
phone
know.
later between he and Adam on the 9th of July.
Correct.
No other questions from me, Your Honor?
All right, you can step down, sir.
Come on, say those magic words. Judge is looking at you,
Your Honor,
Sam.
at this time, the state has no further witnesses. The state will rest.
All right.
I
the state
can't be
has
called a
rested its
boomer
case,
for a
which
week
means
by
the state's portion of
flashbang.
the evidence is done. I'm going to excuse the jury for a few minutes before you go home for the evening. Let me just do a consultation with the parties about tomorrow's schedule, and I'll let you know what time to report back. It should just be a couple minutes. So please remember the admonition. We'll let you know what time to report back tomorrow.
All right, for the jury.
I mean, Laura's calling witnesses, I think. I'll make sure I'm going to boomer so much. You're going to be like typing it out. Be like, I can't.
All right, please be seated. All right. State's rested, so. Do you plan on presenting evidence?
Can I confer with my?
Yeah, go
team
ahead.
for a minute?
Is she going to call it? She had subpoenas out. There was a big deal. Or, I mean, there wasn't a big deal. There was motions hearings about them. They sealed them because she had put some information in there she wasn't supposed to. So, oh, please call witnesses. She is looking nervous, wouldn't you be? Not gonna ask out of where, Gabby. Oh, that would be amazing. I don't think it's gonna happen. Should probably have some excuse. I couldn't get him here on time because I'm behind bars. I still have good hair though. I accidentally put my hair up in a high ponytail today, like too high, like Lori Vallow high. I had all of it up and it kept falling over into my head, in front of my face. I was like, this is stupid. But did I change it? No, I didn't until I took a shower. I just let it annoy me. Oh, she is stalling big time. She gonna come back and say she's not gonna put on a defense? Oh man, if she doesn't have any witnesses to call yourself, Lori. Just do it.
Your Honor, I'd like to address a Rule 20 motion first.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
The state has failed to show substantial evidence for count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree premeditated murder. The state has provided no evidence that I agreed with another person that any one of us would engage in certain conduct that I intended to promote or assist in this premeditated murder. Crime premeditated murder requires the state to establish a person caused the death of another with premeditation. The lack of evidence to show any evidence of a conspiracy to commit murder. There was no plan to murder Charles. No evidence has showed that, in fact, evidence suggested self-defense on the part of Alex. So I would like to put that on the record.
All right. State want to put a response on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Looking at the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, there's sufficient evidence based upon everything from the iCloud messages from between Alex, the defendant, and others leading up to July 11th of 2019, that Alex Cox was invited over by this defendant, knowing that they were going to be having an intervention and knowing when Charles would be there and bringing a handgun over with him. The timelines on July 11th of the killing of Charles Vallow and the fact that the number of shots and the physical evidence at the scene, the statements by the defendant to Detective N-Clan that she took Charles Vallow's phone and would not give it back to him, the motive for money, and especially the defendant's motive for having an affair with Chad Daybell, all of those looking at together in the light most favorable to the state, the defendant or the jury could find the defendant guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Last word. Do you want to add anything?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The standard is whether or not a reasonable juror could, whether or not there's substantial evidence for a reasonable juror to find the defendant guilty. The court does find that there is substantial evidence that a reasonable juror could find the defendant guilty. The court will further add that the jurors are the ones who judge the credibility of the witnesses, and it's ordered denying the Rule 20 motion. Are you going to present evidence tomorrow, either through witnesses or through your own testimony?
No, Your Honor, the defense will rest.
Oh,
All right. If that's the case, I'm going to tell the jury.
well, I'm not home. Dang it.
How long does the state anticipate its closing argument being?
I would assume probably over an hour.
How about the defense?
Less than that.
Can we do the closings at 1 p.m.? We can formalize all the jury instructions at 10:30.
Your Honor,
Is that enough time?
the state would request that we do them Monday to ensure that the state would request we do closings Monday to ensure that we don't finish with a rebuttal closing on Monday.
Well, I'm willing to go in the morning if we want to start in the morning at 11
No,
and
go
do
Monday.
jury instructions at 10:15 or something like that.
To Monday.
Does that work?
To Monday.
Again, I'm asking for Monday, but if the court does not allow that, then we'll go whenever the court says tomorrow.
Monday. Monday. Judge, come on. Help a girl out. It's Easter weekend. Come on. Monday.
Do you want to weigh in?
Well, just that we haven't had time to go over the jury instructions. I don't get back to the jail until like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, so
You agree then that Monday's better?
I would agree.
Yes.
All right. We'll tell the jury to report at 10:30 a.m. on Monday. They don't have to come in tomorrow.
Judge, could we have the defendant rest in front of the jury before they leave today?
Are you prepared to rest today? If you rest, that means you can't change your mind about testifying.
Can we do it on Monday?
We can do that on Monday, but if you change your mind, I need to know in advance because it's going to change the jury instructions and it's going to change the schedule.
Absolutely, I will let you know.
All right. Tell the jury they don't need to report on tomorrow, that they need to report Monday at 10:30 a.m. Okay. So let's meet tomorrow, though, to finalize the jury instructions. Why don't we just do that at, what's tomorrow, Thursday?
10:30?
We'll just do it at 10:30. That'll be enough time for you to read those tonight.
Yeah, if I could have time to meet with my advisory council before that, that would be great.
I can put
If
it
I
on the
can be
calendar.
brought in.
I can put it on the calendar for 10, and I think well,
11?
I can put it on the calendar for 10 so you can meet with them back here, and then we'll meet at about 10:45. We'll have come in the courtroom and finalize the jury instructions. All right. If I did give a copy to your advisory councils as well, or at least one copy there. So if the advisory councils and or the state review that tonight and see something additional or correction that needs to be made, go ahead and give me a heads up so I can be prepared to talk about it tomorrow as well. So, all right, we'll see everyone in court at 10:45, but we'll put it on the calendar for 10 a.m. so that the defendant can meet with her advisory councils at 10 a.m. All right, thank you.
I don't think she will either. I thought he was going to bring the jury back in. Everybody's like leaving. I don't think she will either. She's just buying herself a little more time in case she works or talks herself into it, I guess. But yeah, that helps me out. You think? I don't know. She might. She really thinks he's very smart. Oh, he's going to go through his magic door. Bye. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I do agree. She just wouldn't like to be cross-examined. She would not like that at all. All right, that's over. Whew. We'll be watching her ask. Well, I think her advisor, whoever her advisors are, her counsel, can ask her questions. So she wouldn't be asking herself questions. So I don't know if she'd be able to do it narrative form. I don't know, because I'm not an attorney. I don't know. So, with that being said, I think as long as I don't feel like I've been unalived myself tomorrow, if you guys want to, I think I will probably do day 2, part 2 of the boat club case because we need to get back on that. And I really want to get it done. There's some interesting testimony coming up. So that's my plan tomorrow. If 5:30 still works for everybody, we'll do that. I don't remember what times I was doing the other streams, but I think I can make 5:30 work. If not, I will put it up in Discord. But if I don't have a voice tomorrow, that will be a problem. So I don't know. But that's the plan. Let's do that. Get back on that. Get another day in, and then we'll play it by ear next week. I wonder, because he didn't set her, I don't think he set her next trial date, like, for a while. Like, it's not until May, I don't think. I don't know. I'll have to look. Flashman, you're always good at finding that stuff. But I'll have to look. I think it was in one of the motions that I was kind of paying attention to. But what do I think about this case now that it's almost over? I think there could have been some argument made. You guys didn't believe a word that Tylee had to say. I was on the fence about it. The thing that caught me off guard with Tylee was her demeanor. And because she wasn't upset, she didn't look to be upset. I can't speak for her. For just having found somebody was unalived in her house minutes or seconds or whatever after she had left, after she had had a confrontation with them herself, supposedly, allegedly. So I don't know. Also, I told you that the ex-wife of Alex Cox called the police. She said that she had called the FBI, the Gilbert police, I forget where else, and then she finally called the Chandler police. And they are the only ones that called her back out of everybody. But the things that she said about his family, they're weird. His and Lori's relationship was weird. But she said that, hey, Haley, how are you and your lollies? She said, so Lori's third husband, who died of a suspected heart attack, she said that Alex was trying to, sorry, my nose is driving me crazy. That Alex was trying to bait him into getting into a fight with him so he could unalive him and claim self-defense. Sorry. Sound familiar? So that doesn't look well. But then it makes me suspect even more so that that poor guy did not die of a heart attack. that was not somehow brought on by something. I have no idea. That is just my own speculation, my own thoughts. There's just too much. There's too many deceased people around this woman. Too many. She's kind of like a, what's his face? Crazy guy. Charles Manson. He didn't. There's one guy that says that he allegedly committed one unaliving before he got his little crew together to commit all the unalivings for him. But she's kind of like that. Like, she didn't do any of it, but she ordered it. I was, I can't even say it. Yeah. I've thought about that with her, that she's like him. And I don't know if he unalived anybody in his life or not. I have no idea. Um, you know, people tell the stories and they can sway their facts the way they want to. But there was somebody I was thinking, I don't remember who it was, that it was, I'm like, man, it's too bad that this guy did not meet Eileen Wuornos, because they could have just been together and been happy and did all the things that she liked to do and he would like to do them, but I can't think of who it was, and it's too bad. But oh well. Okay, so that's the plan for tomorrow. I don't really have. I probably will cover her Brandon case. No, it wasn't O.J. Simpson. It's somebody here recent, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. I really don't remember. It'll come to me later. But so if I just like put some random name in Discord, you'll be like, oh, that's the dude. That's the guy. I don't remember who it was. That's going to bug me. Oh, well. So anyway, we'll plan tomorrow, 5:30. What? What? Dorsey. You have to remind me, Flashman. I don't know who that is. You're going to tell me and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. So we'll plan 5:30 tomorrow p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever time we're on right now, 4:30 Adair time. We'll do the boat club crash day 2, part 2. Oh yeah, yes. I have not figured out my schedule going forward yet. I've got to finish up this trial. I've got this one, Eileen Wuornos, this one, and the boat trial were like 3 loose ends out there that I've got to get tied up. Got one tied up, about to get another one tied up, and I want to get this third one tied up, and then we can move forward and see what happens. Yeah, that's all I know right now. So, should I have a voice and not feel like somebody like beat me with a bag of you know what? And tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Chadester, whatever her name is. And we'll go there. So that's the plan. Don't know. My brain is done. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. If you haven't already, please hit that like button on your way out. I would appreciate it. Flashman, if I do not talk to you before then, good luck on Friday. You're going to be just fine. And everything will go just according to plan. And it will be over before you know it. And you'll be like, why did I worry about it so much? You'll be fine. Everyone else, hopefully I get to see you tomorrow. And if not, well, hope you miss me. Thanks, Flashman. Thanks, Haley Mouse. I just, it's hard to not snuggle on the little one, even though she wasn't feeling good. And she snotted all over me, but I don't care. I'll take it. And cuddles. Can't trade them for anything. right. See you guys all tomorrow. Have a great night. Be smart. Be safe. See you later. I guess. Just kidding. Really see you later.